Contribute to learning about Black men's health across the DMV by participating in the Strengths and Stressors Study at George Washington University. This study looks at how Black men cope with stressors like discrimination, unemployment, police harassment, and housing instability, and how those coping methods affect Black men's health. You will be compensated between $200 and $250 for your time while learning more about how stress affects your health. For more information, text 202-596-2743 or email strengthstudydc@gmail.com. You can also find the eligibility questionnaire in our bio and Linktree.
What you doing, beloved?
Attention, attention, my black brothers. What I want y'all to do right now is take out the do-rag, the silky, tie it down. I want to see the waves glistening. If you got nappy hair, pick it. Don't let nobody discourage you.
Ariel.
Black boy.
So, what Renaissance song are we feeling like today?
Ooh.
And I feel like
I'm like, ooh.
You have to have one, right? Because every song has a different feeling. I know what mine is. Dun 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 dun. America has a problem. That's how she's feeling today, like drugs.
I love when that bass line comes in there. I think today, because I just got out of traffic, it's probably Move. Move out the way. Like, I love that. There's something about how many times I'm gonna say that always hits for me, because I'm like, now I know I done said move out the way.
For me, I am very like cozy and comfortable today. I didn't have to I went on like a scavenger hunt on my I work with interns, so I just was very comfortable and cozy today. So yeah, very cozy, comfortable in my skin.
Amen.
Yes.
I'm gonna
She's
go.
comfortable.
I'm gonna go with "I'm That Girl" because I am that girl. I'm always that girl, though, not just today. You know, for the record.
I'm the only one. I went to Alien Superstar. I'm sorry. I just went straight to I'm the only one.
We'll take it.
Go.
I was going to say, every other day I've been Virgo's groove, so today was just like a different one. I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, bitch, you are a problem, huh? You know it.
Cuff It, for me, has been playing. Like, Cuff It, it's just the energy
it's so
from it.
good.
I've also seen people make TikTok. I think they're making like a TikTok.
That
there's
little
like,
dance,
you know,
y'all
girls
learned
love
it.
TikTok trends. Yeah.
Wait, is there a Cuff It dance?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
It's like really short, so it's really easy. So when you get on TikTok, if you have one, and if not, get on Twitter, you'll be able to pick it up quickly.
I'm into it. I love how Cuff It starts. Like, Cuff It is like the first time we get a moment of pause.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I feel like falling in love. And I'll be like, yeah!
Period.
I'm gonna move to fuck something.
Right, listen, right? Yes.
Well, we're gonna have to get into it. We're gonna be keying all day. But what is up, everybody? It is your boy Lord Devery.
And I'm Derwinking.
And welcome back to another episode of That Black Boy Joy, where we create a space where boys can be themselves and
much more.
We have some guests in the building with us. First of all, I almost messed it up, Derwin. And it is ridiculous.
Yeah, I heard you.
Hold on, there's something in my eye.
I got you.
I
I got it. I got your number, bitch.
We have some period. We have some guests in a building with us. I know you all heard multiple voices in the beginning, but we have the FANTI podcast in a building with us. Please introduce yourselves for us. How y'all doing?
Doing very well. I am Jarrett Hill, one half of the FANTI duo. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I am Tre'Vell Anderson, the better half of the FANTI duo. We're both journalists and do 12 other jobs. It's all right, Jarrett. Just accept it.
Let me slip right into the anti-blackness and transphobia, because I don't appreciate you or none of the bullshit.
I'm screaming.
You can't make jokes like that in public, Jarrett. Okay, these people.
I was gonna say I can't do that off our show because listen, exactly.
You don't know how we're gonna judge. You don't know if we're gonna judge you.
Listen, anything I say that's negative to Tre'Vell, we can chalk up to transphobia. I could be like, "You're on my nerves today," and it's like, "You're being transphobic." Is that what?
Because you are. Period.
That's what it's giving. Exactly.
You're being transphobic. We're going to have a conversation.
Okay. Listen.
All right, we're going to have to discuss and unpack that. But we have another podcast in the building with us, so it is going to be a lot of keying and antics. But of course, we want you all to know who they are, listen to their content, subscribe, get to know who they are personally and professionally, and things like that. So we are super excited to have you all with us today.
Glad to be here.
But just to give you all a little bit, sorry, it's so many. I got to make sure I'm hearing everybody. But just to give you all a little bit about Anti Podcast, every week on FANTI, not Anti. FANTI.
Close enough.
Okay? But no, it's the name FANTI. Journalists Tre'Vell Anderson and Jarrett Hill bring their pop culture and political expertise to things that we must stand up against. So that is just a little bit, but of course, you all can tell our listeners briefly before we get into, the meat and potatoes of what you all, the FANTI podcast, what it is to them.
Yeah, I mean, FANTI is a show where every week we choose a person, place, or thing to give the FANTI treatment. FANTI is a word that we came up with. Jarrett likes to say he came up with it, but he did not. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
But basically,
you know what?
FANTI is a portmanteau of fan and anti. So every week we choose a topic and we go through the things that we love, that we're huge fans of about that person, place, or thing, and the things that we, some of the anti-feelings that we have toward those things. So whether we're talking about Nicki Minaj, we're talking about Tyler Perry, or talking about, being freelancers or whatnot, the conversation runs the gamut.
I will say, as a word that I created, FANTI really means...
We're going to figure this out. By the end of this episode, I feel like we should debunk Scooby-Doo this.
So, Debbie, let me tell you, the truth of this situation is the further away we get from the actual creation of the show, the more Tre'Vell believes that they created it. And the more that Tre'Vell tells people that they came up with this. But the truth of the matter, if we go back into the documentary footage, that is not the case.
Not revision.
In 2020, the first episode. In 2020, the first episode. Actually, so I actually found out about you all during the pandemic. So that was a time where I was like in that space of I need more content, I need more queer voices, and stumbled upon you all's content, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the conversations that you all had, and it ranged from, and I love that you all got it from that. This is what we stand, and this is what we're against, and I really think that is something that we need to hear, is those nuances that we all have in all of our conversations. Like, we can love something, and we can, like, I think the only thing is Beyonce. You just gotta love her.
Well,
you just gotta love her.
Hold on now.
Wait a minute now. I know that's your job to go anti, but I don't know if we need to really go anti with that. I swear.
I love the queen. Don't get me wrong. I love the queen. I do love the queen. But sometimes, come on now. Y'all know she ain't always on the up and up.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny there are conversations you don't have in mixed company. This happens for me.
Like about Tre'Vell's transphobia.
Trust and believe that I have a fully developed perspective about most things. I like to challenge everything. However, these girls are never going to hear
it. Y'all never. It's always positivity when it's. If I don't care if Beyonce put shit on the mic, and I'm like,
what a fragrance!
What a fragrance!
Now, Darwin, we actually did an episode of FANTI. We do like bonus episodes for our subscribers, and like we did a bonus episode on Beyonce and like our favorites and our least favorite tracks, and like our guest was like, "So I'll do my favorites," and that was like the end of the conversation. It was like, "Okay,
we're gonna wrap
just
this
do your
up."
Exactly.
Now, that is a conversation we'll have, because we have both openly said that I Am Sasha Fierce is our least favorite album and that B-Day is our favorite. And I was
episode we said that
for the rest of my life. I have no problem saying that.
A hot take.
Yeah. I Am Sasha Fierce was my least fave. I didn't. Yeah, it was like, I've never seen a double disc album that I loved.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to think about it for a second.
I'm like, now wait a minute.
I did have to take it back, like, okay, girl, before you get too excited.
Well, I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot of double disc albums, but like I remember Christina Aguilera coming out with one and being like, "Oh, honey, that second track, disc was not necessary." Yeah. I felt that way about Sasha Fierce as well. I didn't need the second album.
Yeah. Wow. It was the ballads, and then it was the Sasha.
Wow. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking of. I don't even know what songs was on Sasha Fierce. Was Radio on that one?
Yeah. I used to love it. It's bad. I loved it, but it was bad.
It's not working.
It's bad. It's not bad. It's not good. I like it. I liked it a lot, but it's not a good song. It's really awful, actually.
I like Sweet Dreams. I will say Sweet Dreams.
Yes.
Sasha Fierce was the better side.
Yeah.
And so what works for me about that? Yeah. What works for me is like Smash Into You, beautiful song, right? Mm-hmm. Satellites, I don't need that. It's not for me, right? Sweet Dreams, and then the interpolation that she does at the Vegas show with the Anita Baker moment.
Sweet Love. Oh my God, and Dangerously
I love that this has turned into an opportunity to stand Beyonce. This is really interesting to me.
It always will.
Listen, I only got into also got into Sweet Dreams because there was a musical about ballroom scene called Leave It on the Floor. And there was a scene where they performed to Sweet Dreams, and it was just so gay. And I was like, okay, I like this. This might be for the girls. But I was not standing the album at all. But I watched, I said, there might be on to something, Beyonce, with this one. But other than that, I'm like,
I love you told her that like a decade and a half later. Like, maybe this is something.
I said, maybe this is good now.
I was a high schooler, so nobody was going to listen to me when I was screaming it from the rooftop. But I digress. Let us get into our Black Boy Joy Spotlight.
Let's get into it.
So this one is really special. I'm really excited about it. This week's Black Boy Joy Spotlight goes out to Tariq, the Corn Kid. Now, I want to be really particular about this. Because it is going to Tariq because I really like the epitome of Black Boy Joy. The excitement on his face talking about corn in those first couple of videos was honestly super heartwarming. Do I enjoy the cameos and ads and the ways that they're monetizing this? Absolutely not. Children should not be working. But I love, at least right now, how much joy it's bringing him, and I really hope that doing all of this work with it doesn't change his perspective about it. But we change, and if he finds joy in something else, I just hope that it's just as measured, if not to a higher degree. You have thoughts, Tre'Vell?
No, I just look at Tre'Vell's face, so I'll be ready. I'll be like, "What's?" And I'm over here drinking my drink. Like,
I'm very.
It's so funny because I always tell Tre'Vell, what is this face? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, can you see you? It's a lot of face. There's a whole lot of facial responses happening.
Here's the thing. I'm cool. I saw the boy, I saw the initial social media videos, and I was like, oh, this is cute. And then I recently saw he did a commercial for Chipotle.
Yeah.
And one, I was surprised to see him. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. Who is working at Chipotle that is with the culture, enough to know that you need to get this child up in there. And I will say I agree with the idea that children working, but I am glad and I hope that the checks look like the little white kid checks for when they get put in the commercials and the whatnot. I hope he got a good team with him, good parents with him that are at least doing something good with the money. Put it in a college fund, do something where hopefully he don't end up like Lindsay Lohan out here, just mixed up and messed up because of the child, star experience.
That machine.
So I had a friend send me the initial Cone video, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with this little kid. He's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And like, I watched it so many times that I started just hearing him saying cone in the middle of like random things I was doing.
Cone!
Cone. Then I saw the Food Network had done a video with someone who had made a song out of it. Have y'all seen that?
No.
Okay. That was the cutest thing that I'd ever seen. I don't know if y'all can hear this. But... They're making corn dogs. It's a lot. But it's voice. Like,
girl, that's white.
It was very weird, but also really cute because you hear his voice and like his joy and his excitement. Yeah, it's so good. So my feelings are mixed.
Yeah, because it's stressful to like. On one hand, it's like clearly his pure joy is infectious and it's something that we want to see, that we love to see. But then you watch it being commodified in this way, and it is really stressful to witness because you kind of lose control. If any of us know the experience of having something we love monetized, you know that the joy kind of gets sucked out of it oftentimes. Maybe not always, but oftentimes, especially when it's out of your hands. So like someone was like, that little boy's gonna hate corn when he gets older, and that's gonna make me so sad.
Because every time they see him, when they see him, they're gonna always call him like the corn kid. And I'm like, girl, can you please call me Tyreek? Like, I'm not the corn kid. He's gonna be called that until like he's like probably like 30 or something. Like, oh my God.
Well, and like the big corn lobby, we really don't want them to get a hold of him. You know what I mean? The high fructose corn syrup girls.
Oh, you know what?
I can't.
You know,
I can't.
If this could really go dark for him and he really be strung out on the shit, let's just be honest. I'm concerned.
I'm corn.
The fuck out of him. He's gonna be in a like an Alcohol Anonymous group for corn. Like,
oh, absolutely,
Tyreek, and I'm tired of corn.
I love that you said that as I was holding my drink in my hand.
They're gonna
crossfire.
They're gonna definitely like ethanol is gonna come after him to like really be their spokesperson. It's gonna be an issue. I can see it.
Well, I love the black boys getting his little shine right now, but his parents, please do
guard your joy, as David Johns would say, honey, and that is to Tariq's parents. Guard your joy, okay?
Listen, and your bag.
Well, shout out to in the bag. Get as much, but just be mindful.
Get that corn money because there's a lot of money in corn.
Popcorn.
I'm gonna stop.
Caramel corn. What is it? Is it caramel? What is it?
Caramel corn.
Sorry,
I was gonna say, are you saying caramel?
No.
Candy corn?
Sorry, I was having
I didn't know you was that kind of girl.
Yes. I don't eat candy corn.
I'm talking about the caramel girl. I'm still on caramel. I ain't left off of that yet.
Okay, I just want to stop for a moment and recognize the black people who appreciate candy corn who are offended with me. Because y'all didn't have to do that. It wasn't necessary.
That's
okay.
Nasty. It's nasty.
You invited me over to your home.
You're right. You a guest. I'm sorry.
And then you attacked me. And I don't appreciate.
You be alright.
You know what? I respect that. Look, I respect that. You know, you just won't find any candy corn in my house. So
that's fine. Don't nobody want candy corn from your stank house with your stank attitude about candy corn. It's cold.
And you won't find it.
Respectfully. Right.
Respectfully.
You got to say that at the end of everything, even though you drag somebody, but respectfully.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, it's not respectful.
Tre'Vell has come out of the respectfully phase because Tre'Vell went through a phase where there was always like a respectfully at the end of stuff or at the beginning of things. And it's kind of faded out now.
Oh, just no more respect.
You said you don't do that no more.
Because ain't no respect. Ain't no respect. Baby. I'm not saying that no more. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know there ain't no respect there. Why would I say it?
Listen, I'm lying.
The age
right,
of truth.
Exactly.
We are in the age of truth, honey.
Listen.
When the world gets more complicated, why sugarcoat, okay?
Absolutely.
That is true. But we are about to get into our hot topics and rants. So Biden ass just announced that student debt relief plan.
Hold on.
We've been waiting on this. Come on, girl.
Did you see their faces when you said on topic? Both of them were like, it was like the attentiveness, like the shift in your attention like was completely visible on your faces, and it really took me out. Like I had to acknowledge it because you both did it.
Well, when the girls get into hot topics, it's like you never know where this is gonna go,
It ain't gonna go
and
too
you like,
far.
well, girl, I might be
Where
over
we
here
going?
talking about its cone. I don't know. We gonna see. We gonna see.
You don't know, but Biden finally announced this damn student debt relief plan, and there's been some mixed reviews, some mixed thoughts, and all of that. How do y'all feel about this shit? I'm really just like,
I
girl.
buy student loans because, baby, I found out I qualified because I had the Pell Grant, and mine were I was fortunate. Mine were semi minimal because of the military. Look at this little dog in here. Hey, Greg. So mine will be gone after this is over with. So praise the Lord. Thank you. I'm very grateful.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Right.
Listen,
Because I was not a Pell Grant bitch. Okay.
This is where Derwin is like, and I think this is some bullshit. And
I'm just still like, it's not enough. I need you to take all of these bitches away. Like, I'm not a Pell Grant kid, so I still have to pay still a certain amount. Also, I'm military, but like still didn't pay enough. I was just like, girl, you could have just took all of these away. You've been extending it for this long. I'm still not gonna pay it. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not gonna pay it. And I don't care how many degrees I get, still not gonna pay it until you get rid of it.
Fuck your couch. I'm not paying you, bitch.
They never gave us niggas money.
Please. You should have never. I was like, this is free. I don't know why I have to pay to go to school. Anyway, first of all, I don't want this. But finally announced this, and my bad. Go ahead.
Well, my feelings about this are kind of all over the place. Like, I hate to get real journalisty on you, but like, when you think about it from like a data perspective, right? Like, this country could afford to pay off our student loan debt, like do it all. And we know that it would actually have a really positive impact on our economy, right? And like giving people back that much money to have in their spending from day to day, but also like taking that shit off of their credit, right? Like the different kinds of ways that it impacts people. And so like, we know that we can afford to do it, and we know that it would be a good thing for us to do, right? For our own longevity. And so it's frustrating to then see like how this rolls out, right? And I think about the people who work on this every day, and like how much they probably wanted to be able to give away, but then having to negotiate it down to $10,000. And I hear the people that say like, this is some bullshit because we could do this and it could be done and like it just be over, because we found out really quickly during COVID how fast we can spend a whole lot of money. Right,
baby, like, they pull that money out of nowhere.
Listen, honey, they how much? Yes, girl, go. Right? $2 trillion. Yes, right. Like, we can do it. We have the money, and it would be helpful for us. But like, that is not how decisions get made. And so it's a very mixed bag of feelings.
I mean, I feel like for me, so let me first say, I know of a lot of people who, this will wipe out their situation. Right. And so there are a lot of people for whom this is good. This is great. Now, I'm going to share something that perhaps,
come on,
does not necessarily, it's just a different way to look at this. Okay. Now, which is, and I know this going to sound, real, privileged and whatnot, but I don't like it.
Damn it, just say it.
Because I don't qualify. I don't qualify because allegedly I apparently make too much money. Okay, allegedly.
Right, on paper.
on paper, right? But like, when they do all of these, loan forgiveness things and whatnot, they're not considering, right, what else your money goes to. So like, yeah, maybe I don't qualify because I'm a little bit over the little threshold. Yeah. But like, I pay family bills. I support other people, all these other things. So I'm not really making the money that y'all think I'm making. So I need, I could very much use the loan debt forgiveness, but I can't get it because on the paper, it looked like I'm rolling in dough, but I'm not.
Yep.
I mean, you are,
yeah,
but I mean, she's got like a Telfar bag room. She's got like
not the room, not
a Telfar room.
Bags.
Have we not? Oh, you
Why
haven't
are
told
you
people about
lying
that,
to these
Tre'Vell? I'm gonna
people?
stop. Let me stop.
Can we get an MTV Cribs of this?
Listen,
Because
it's like it's very giving. This is where the magic happens. All of that.
Jarrett.
All of
Y'all
that.
see how Jarrett's whole little office is set up? Okay, he got the color coded lights in the back. It's black and gold. Who house you know black and gold?
Okay.
Oh, you paint the walls. You can paint the walls.
Exactly. He can paint the walls.
Shout out to Wendy. I hope she is great.
Yes.
I know she listens to this show, and so we're happy to have her listening and carrying in her legacy. So
yeah, but no, the thing I couldn't get. So I'm not a Pale Grant kid because my parents allegedly made too much, and my parents are putting two kids through at the same time. So I was like, y'all don't want to look at the paper and realize they have 2 kids going at the same time.
Absolutely.
But we allegedly they
extenuating circumstances.
Right. Okay, so
okay.
Yeah, and I think that's what Biden just is like. It was just very a slap on the wrist. Like, here, we're just gonna do this, but didn't really look at the like specifics. And was it? I guess you can't individualize this shit, but I mean, you could have at least gave it a little bit more money and not put all these restrictions on it or these like requirements. I'm just like, just give everybody like 20 to 30,000. You could just do that. You ain't got to do all those rules. He
ain't gonna do all of that though because of the politics, right? This is all a political game still, right? We're looking at it in terms of how this is gonna better our lived experiences, right? But like they're looking at it that way, sure, but also they're really looking at it like, how is this going to impact the midterms? How is this going to impact the next presidential election? And that's where a lot of this stuff kind of gets perverted, and they don't necessarily end up helping as many people as perhaps could be helped, right, by wiping it all out because they're looking at the political game.
Well, and the way I look at it is like the goal was to come in and like clear out student debt, right? Like maybe all of it, maybe as much of it as we can, maybe some of it, right? And then I started looking at all of like those line items that exclude people. And the way that seems to me without like insight into like the day-to-day of it is those are the things that had to get negotiated, right? Because there was going to be a whole lot of no's, right? And so like the more ways that we can cut this down is probably something to do with what the opposition to this was, right? People that make too much money don't necessarily deserve to get this money. So, okay, we're going to put a cap. People who got this kind of grant versus that kind of grant probably had access to this versus that kind of thing. And so like those are the ways that I'm kind of seeing that. To be honest with you, I haven't looked to see if I'm eligible. I've been dealing with my own depression, anxiety, and work. And so like I haven't gone in to see like what I'm eligible for versus not. But like I'm thinking about it in that way.
No, I haven't looked either. I ain't even gonna lie. I seen the Instagram post and it said Pale Grant. I said, God damn it.
I was like, yeah, I know it's available. I'll look at it soon. It'll be fine. I'm over here eating pizza and dealing with my feelings. So I'll be back.
Still not gonna get paid. So I said, here we are. But Chris Rock, y'all, again, compares the slap heard around the world to the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. Okay. Said he would not come back. Okay, Derwin, you actually give me this.
So what I thought was interesting about this was like the reaction to it, because obviously when the slap happened, there was this like huge push, this like anti Will Smith push, and like now that I've had some time to sit on that, like I wish that he would have slapped him, but like not in mixed company, because I feel like that would have just been a completely different conversation anyway. Like this kind of something that, like, yes, smack the shit out of him at the after party.
At the BET Awards. If you would have smacked him at the BET Awards, you would have been cool.
Like different, circumstance. But obviously the slap is not murder or in any way comparable. And then also just like the opportunity to continue to victimize himself was like interesting to me. But this is yet another thing that is being scrutinized by white people that is like really uncomfortable for me, because in both situations, so now instead of it just being Will Smith who's being persecuted by white people, this is now Will Smith and Chris Rock. They're both under this like white gaze of the situation that has nothing to do with anyone other than really Jada, Will, and Chris. So I thought it was a really irresponsible thing to do. And your mouth is what got you in this in the first fucking place. Why would you continue to use it to further dig a hole for you?
Because I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, because we're gonna end up hearing about this situation from Chris Rock for at least 2 years. Okay, why? Because he's going to turn this. This is gonna be in his next special. This is gonna be like he's out here saying these things at his comedy shows, right? He's testing information, testing jokes for the next special that he's going to sell to someone, and he's going to need a lot of money for it because everybody wants to hear, his perspective, what he was thinking. Did it hurt? Did he talk to Will Smith yet? All of those things. So he knows what he's doing, right? He's going to make some money out of this in the long term, right? That's part of the reason why people are showing up to his shows, right now. So that's why he's still talking about it. Meanwhile, the rest of us, we're like, oh, y'all still talking about this? It's almost been a whole year.
I didn't even know. So I just found out he was banned. Will Smith was banned, I think, from the academies for 10 years, allegedly.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, we getting banned? All right, okay.
So it hasn't been almost a whole year. It was like 6 months ago. Chill out. But
6 months is round up, honey. If you round up.
We're close to the year's close at this point.
Listen, she said it's a strong round, but it's a round. But I think what's interesting about this story, Derwin, you were talking about like you use language around Chris Rock like victimizing himself, and I think it is important to remember that Chris Rock was victimized in this moment, right? And I was talking about this on another show earlier this week about how it is telling to me this example that he would use, right? Because there is a way to look at what happened to Chris Rock in this moment. Mind you, we can talk about whether or not Chris Rock deserved it, what he knew and what he didn't know, if it was well earned or not, right? Yeah. But like he was assaulted on stage in front of people, right? And so there's a way to see this as a bit of an assassination of his character, of his personality, right? Because when we think about how Black men respond to this in like a very toxically masculine kind of way, this is you're a bitch for the rest of your life because you let this man slap you across the face and did not do anything about it, right? In their view, right? That's one way to look at it. And so like to be a straight man, a cis het Black man who is single in his 50s with a whole bunch of other men who are your friends like that, it is not as wild to me for him to make a comparison to a killing. I do think it was a stretch, right, to compare himself to Nicole Brown Simpson. It was a stretch, but it makes sense to me that he would have this lens about the impact that it had on him.
But it was and Devery said it, like the white woman, this is quite. There's something to be said about what it means for. I mean, obviously, like in just the existence of. The O.J. Simpson case, like of a Black man being the assailant against a white woman. And so to use that comparison in this sense, when the reason this even started was because he made jokes at a Black woman's expense, is just really reckless.
So I just want to jump on in real quick, like,
Drag him.
Drag him. So I just, Chris Rock has not suffered anything out of this situation. Okay. Because, right, one of the other things that he said in his comedy show where he said the joke about Nicole is that the Oscars asked him to come back and host, right? Yeah. He said no, right? But all I see, right, based on the ways that he has continued talking about it, based on the ways that we all have continued talking about it, very few people, right, are looking ultimately at Chris Rock negatively. Yeah, we all say that he should not have made that joke, right? But everyone's focus is actually on Will Smith. Will Smith got banned. Will Smith has movies that have been shelved. Will Smith, and I'm not saying, I have no thoughts about whether, those things should have happened to him or not. But when we're looking at the broader picture in terms of who has lost something, it's not Chris Rock. So I just won't say that.
I think that's a really fair to a point. Because I think that if we're just looking at it from a professional standpoint and like from a job and work standpoint, right? Like this stands to work out really well for Chris Rock. Mm-hmm. Right. But when we think about it from like a personal, emotional, mental health perspective, I don't know that I can just say that, right? Like, because no matter how much money he can make off of it or the work that he can get out of it or whatever, like it's a really traumatic thing to have happen. Whether or not like you express your feelings about it or not, but to be like hit on stage in front of thousands of people in a room that are all your peers, that are the biggest celebrities in the world, and then to be beamed out across the world and to have that shake up the relationships that you have. We've heard Will Smith talk about how, this has had a real impact on his relationship with Chris's brother, Tony, and how like that relationship is now probably irreparably harmed, right? Mm-hmm. And I imagine there's a lot of other relationships and like the ways that people relate to each other that are irreparably harmed, right? I imagine like if we think about the Will Smith side of it, like I don't know what's going to happen with Will and Jada, right? Like I don't know what's going to happen there. But if we're thinking about Chris Rock, I'm pretty sure Chris Rock is still single. I don't know what it's like to be like dating out here with that kind of experience, right? To be traveling around the world and to be doing stages around the world where people are all have a bit about you being slapped, right? Some people think it was funny. Some people thought it was like earned. Some people thought all kinds of different things. But like people want to talk about it all the time. And for that traumatic event to be at the center of your career and to have to talk about it all the time, I'm not convinced that it doesn't have like some kind of cost to Chris Rock, even if there is a benefit for him.
Interesting.
I receive.
Just receive. Yeah. Just child, girl, you ate that. You ate that. In my law, girl, you ate that. But girl. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us is going to have really various thoughts, around Chris. I think it was just the extremities to me of like you brought up Nicole Brown Simpson. Like you could have compared it to something else. It just as we brought Nicole
it was uncalled for
into a comment. Just it was random. I was like, you could have compared it to something else. You could have like the killing of Rodney King or something like that. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know, but that was a stretch as well.
One last thing I want to say.
I
also wonder if the choice of that reference also relates to who's buying tickets to see his show.
Say more.
We know that Chris Rock is one of the top comedians. The only way you become a top comedian is when you get white people coming to your shit, right?
Correct. That is correct.
That example specifically to convey
sympathy
to the people who are coming to his shows, more likely than not, what he feels, right? To your point, Jarrett, actually, right? He feels like it was as grave of a situation as
going back
situation. Which to me ends up turning this into a conversation about like who's the audience, and how who the audience may be might impact the content itself. But that's a conversation for a different time.
Look, and to hear more about this conversation, please check out FANTI, the podcast, on their next episode. But we are going to move on and get into the podcast because this type of content and conversation is what you all do. This is the conversation that you all have with your guests and things like that with each other. So this is very much an amazing experience because our listeners get a sneak peek in. When they want to hear more, they can definitely tune in. So we're pretty excited about that. We're going to go into our meat and potatoes, our let's get comfortable moment. The reason we are here is to talk about you all, give you all the space and platform to, unpack just things and all that. But first, we want to know what inspired the creation of FANTI podcast.
Jarrett.
Who gonna do it?
Since you started.
I was gonna say, since it was my idea, I guess I could do it. Tre'Vell and I started working together at NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists here in Los Angeles, for that chapter. And Tre'Vell swindled me into being a part of leadership there. And that meant that we ended up having to host a lot of things together or be in public together a lot. And so after a number of times where we co-hosted things together, people would come up and always be like, oh, y'all should have a show. Y'all should do a show. Y'all should do some kind of thing. And I was like, And Tre'Vell was like, okay. And like, at some point I was like, we should maybe think about this. Like, is this something we should have a conversation about? And Tre'Vell had a meeting at Maximum Fun. We did a meeting at another company and like that wasn't quite the right fit. And so then we ended up having meetings at Maximum Fun about a concept that we came up with that they didn't like. And they were like, y'all could go back and work on that a little bit more. And FANTI became a segment of that show. We're like, oh, well, what about this idea that we could do this segment where we talk about a thing that we like, but we have some issues around. And it really grew out of that redevelopment of the show, that segment became like the framing of the entire show. And we did some test shows and played around with the format, and we debuted in February of 2020, which was just a wonderful time to start anything. A thriving time for this country. And so we've very much been a pandemic show. We've been a show that has kind of existed throughout the time of the pandemic, and that has given us kind of a unique relationship with our listeners and kind of with the platform itself. And it's been a really rewarding, exciting, fun, unexpected experience.
What he said. Mm-hmm.
Was like, I think Wendy Williams. Was it like Wendy Williams, like one of the first episodes? I think you had like a conversation about Wendy. I think that was the first. Was that the first one?
Yeah, I don't think
that was the second episode.
It was the second episode. Yeah.
Okay.
It was the second episode. Yeah. So we had
that was the one I remember.
Yeah, we did a Kevin Hart was our first episode, and I can't remember what we had planned for episode 3, but like Wendy had said the comment about, I think it was the comment about and boys stop wearing our dresses or something like that.
I remember that vividly.
And we were like, oh, we have got to talk about this. So we scrapped episode 2 and made it the Wendy Williams episode. And it was, I believe that was the second episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one because I was our first. I was like, "What is this, honey?" I said, "Oh, I like this." I said, "Okay." Okay. These individuals is right up my alley, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I think with you that NABJ. Also, I have like a NABJ experience growing as a kid, not growing up. I thought I wanted to be a journalist. My parents was like, "You can't make money off that." So, child, I went somewhere else. But that's pretty dope that you all met through NABJ. Do you believe that way? Do y'all believe that when people say you can't make money off of journalism?
I do not.
Tre'Vell is in their Telfar room. Like, Tre'Vell is coming to you live from the east. Is this the east wing of the closet? Which side of the closet is this? I don't know.
So much. Oh my God. I will say that I actually don't believe that. I think we've all grown up being told that, like, to be a journalist, you have to take a vow of poverty. But then guess what? Look at Barbara Walters. Look at Dan Rather. Look at, these are journalists, right? And they making good money.
Yeah.
I want their money, okay? And so I think what it is, though, is that, like, this industry is built off of this idea that like we are supposed to be so grateful to like tell people's stories and like help shine a light on different folks. And so they make us think that in order to do that, you just, you can't, pay your bills for real, for real. You got to be a journalist and then have a side job or something like that. And I reject that idea completely, because we know of so many journalists, names you know and names you don't know, of folks who are having and living very fruitful lives as journalists. The problem is you don't see a lot of Black people in those roles, right? You don't see a lot of Black people with the rarefied positions at these different publications. That's changing now, largely in part to the quote unquote racial reckoning of 2020. But like, it still is like a fairly new thing, so that you have parents, mine did the same thing. My mom was like, girl, you want to do what? You want to go write for a newspaper? But it worked out for me, if I do say so myself.
Okay.
Hey,
per our earlier conversation, I would agree.
Here, look where we at now. Look where we at now.
I'd like to know I would like to know what the earlier visions were for your show and how they've changed, like what you envision for your podcast.
So you mean like the initial vision for it before it became FANTI, right?
Well, I actually mean once you guys had like actually started producing it, what were your hopes and visions for it, and how have those changed?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And before, let's get into that.
Yeah. So, the initial, the idea and the vision to both parts of that question. So the initial idea was a show called I Don't Disagree. Because it's something that Tre'Vell and I found ourselves saying on the phone to each other all the time as a way to like calm the other one down when one of us was going off the edge, right? Tre'Vell was president, I was vice president at that time. I'm president now, and Tre'Vell works on the national board as well. And so Tre'Vell keeps pulling me further and more into this organization.
You're welcome.
I'm probably gonna have to kill them. But when we would be in different instances of trying to like figure out what we were doing as leaders of the organization, sometimes there'd be a moment where Tre'Vell was pissed off or I was pissed off, and we would be trying to moderate the other one, be like, sweetie, listen, I don't disagree. I hear you, but right. And so that was the initial idea. And we wanted to kind of have conversations about the things that we were struggling with, right? But not quite the FANTI concept. And to your vision piece of your question, like we really were interested in talking to like Black and queer and millennial kind of folks like us, right? That are queer and trans and millennial and in our 30s and Black and that relate to our experience. What's been interesting is being on a listener supported network that is largely white. Right. And so like we are one of the shows with Black faces, and like I think we're the only show that is like all Black, but there are other Black personalities on our network. And so that has made it interesting because we address an audience that was not the initially intended audience, but an audience that has really attached to the work and that is interested in what we're doing and is reflecting back to us the ways that the work is impacting them. So I kind of think about my mom always referencing the scripture in Jeremiah, like God can dream a bigger dream for you than you can for yourself. And like, I don't know that this has been like so much bigger and more. I don't know that this has been like bigger and like that it's an enormous show and it's like crazy in that way. But the audience has definitely been a lot broader than we ever intended or ever really thought about. And so that has been an interesting dynamic that I don't think we were expecting.
Which doesn't mean, for the sake of clarity, that we are talking to these white motherfuckers. We are very clear that, we do our show for Black folks first and foremost. Black, queer, and trans folks, to be more specific. Okay. First and foremost, right? And you as white folks, you can come on and listen. Matter of fact, go on and subscribe. You can become a member of the network and help pay us, play your role, right? But like, we've had a number of instances where the types of conversations we have on our show don't necessarily gel with the audience. in some, or at least I should say the most visible portions of our audience. We did an episode on whooping, on ass cutting.
Yeah,
and there are some people who don't believe you should look at anything positive as it relates to getting your ass cut. But we as Black folk have a very different relationship to discipline, quote unquote. Derwin, I see you. Go ahead, Derwin. You got something on your heart.
No. I mean, only that mine has transformed after, like, during undergrad and afterwards, and also because my hands are heavy and I don't have no business hitting nobody's child, period. So I say historically because I think a lot of ours have morphed as we get more information.
Absolutely.
And the conversation gets more nuanced.
But so I really think to that. I really think to that point, though, is really kind of where we were, right? Like, and I'm not advocating for people getting whooped. I'm not like talking about how I'm going to go whoop my kids. I don't have kids, and I'd like to think that I wouldn't whoop them. Like, I feel like whoopings are often more about our anger than it is about their discipline. But sometimes you got to get that ass together, right? Like, that was the conversation we were having.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just Tre'Vell said.
Tre'Vell's like, I might have to go upside your head. But the way that you just wound up them fists though. But like, we did that episode and like it was fun and entertaining for us, and it was one of those like, oh, that was fun. And like, we've done shows where we've, said to our team and been like, this might actually piss off some folks. So just be aware. Thursday might get interesting, but I don't think so. Right. Whenever we've done that, never happens. Right? Like, it's never a problem. It never becomes a thing. It's never something that we actually should have ended up being concerned about. Whenever it's been something, it's always been something that was surprising. And like with the Whoopins episode, there was a full Reddit thread of people like going back and forth about how we shouldn't have been saying this, and the network, they couldn't believe that they would let us say that. And it was just like,
and it was like, you ain't said that about Joe Rogan.
Absolutely.
You ain't said about Joe Rogan on Spotify.
Come on.
Our lived experiences as Black folks who got their ass cut.
Okay.
Mind your business.
And that's important.
Well, they don't want to hear that.
That's fucking important.
They don't want to hear that, though. But they don't want to hear it. When we start to talk our truth or we start to be real, they're like, cut it. No, we can't have that.
Are a lot more.
We can't. Let's.
I don't want to say they're more profound.
Yeah.
Because
they come.
Well, and to that point, their frustration was not even that we were like talking about whoopings. It was that we weren't talking about it with enough pain in our voices, right? Because we were having a conversation about like, yeah, it happened, but I turned out all right. But like, they wanted us to be like hurt and devastated about it, right? Like, they wanted us to be like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me, and I'm so devastated, and I would never, and I hate my parents. And like, that was what they were upset about, was that we weren't hurt about it.
The way that me and Derwin pulled back, because we was like, oh, it was the
we don't
pain.
have time to go into why the layers of why that's fucked up. We don't have time. And one of them is like just right here, and I'm just like, I'm trying my hardest not to bring it up.
Go there, girl. Go there. Yeah. Go there.
Just the obsession with Black pain, the need to watch us like, I cannot. That shit. Whenever I watch anything, it's just always right there on my eyebrow, just beaten down. I can't.
A lot of the media, a lot of what they consume of our identities is Black pain. Like if you think about like a lot of our shows, a lot of our movies, like there's not that many happiness things, like happy things happen. Like it's not just like a romantic comedy. It's always some form of dramedy, or like we're laughing at our pain, as Kevin Hart's, laughing at our own.
But not even for us.
So I think that is, it's not for us. So I think that's the problem. It's like when we are, we've accepted the pain, we've lived through it, and we are in a space of like, yes, this happened. We're gonna go through it, and they're like, oh my God, like it's still fresh to them though. That's why, when they hear these nuanced things, because they've closed their ears for so long, or they are now forced to listen. Now they're like, oh my gosh, like what happened? Girl, I've been there with this.
Absolutely.
I've unpacked.
little more cynical, and I think it's sadistic in that there's pleasure in seeing it.
I
actually think that there's pleasure in watching it. That's my issue with it. It ain't even like that this shit is new. I don't
Tre'Vell?
How many like 12 Years a Slave films do you really need to see before you get where like the
There you
pain
go.
exists? I actually
And they
think
coming out with
it's-
more. They coming out with more.
For the sake of time, I must ask how it is for the two of you balancing your personal and professional endeavors while also being content creators.
I don't know.
We know.
I don't know if we're good
We know,
at it.
child.
I don't know if we're good at it, to be quite honest with you. Jared and I are always, talking about how close we are to burnout, how tired we are, how depression and anxiety is kicking our ass every other week. And so I don't know if we're doing a good job at it. I do know that both of us, over the course of the life of our show in particular, I feel like where we were in our careers at the start of the show, we've gone on various trajectories, both together and separately since then. And so that necessitates, right, just being more intentional about like our work schedules, being more intentional about our off time. I just got back from a 2-week vacation in Spain, living my best life, okay?
Yes.
Feeling like the cheetah girls in Barcelona, And,
Amigas, cheetahs.
Jarrett did a weekend getaway this past weekend. I think for both of us, Jarrett also, I think last year stopped taking meetings on Thursdays and Fridays because he teaches on Thursdays, and he stopped taking meetings on Fridays, right? As a means of like just trying to get his hands around like everything, and then also just having some time to do nothing. And so I think for both of us, we've been like trying to say no more. Not feeling like we have to do everything, trying not to operate from a place, trying not to operate from a place of lack, or scarcity, right?
Absolutely.
And really just trying to be like, you know what? There will be other opportunities. There will be another check. There will be another, another moment, right? To do what I need to do. It's okay for me to step back, right? And care on myself just a little, let me light up. We live in California, so we can light up with no problem. Praise the Lord.
Do it.
But like maybe
okay.
I need to sit on the couch and get high for one afternoon and not do absolutely nothing. Right? Maybe I need to go take myself to the movies, right? Like maybe I need to go to a concert, whatever the case may be. I think both of us are just getting more intentional about figuring out that balance, Derwin.
Thank you.
I would say like I had like the weirdest thing happen the other day. I was like, how like you have to fill out a form and they ask you for your email address. And it asked me for like my work address, my home email, and my personal email. And I was like, first of all, who has like a home email? What does that even mean? Right?
Remember people still have home phone on the applications as well. When people put like home phone, bitch, it's a cell phone. It's mobile.
But how would that even work for an email address? Is this like I'm sharing this with my kids and
it doesn't make no
if
sense.
I have one?
It don't make no sense.
The trying to find like time for myself or like for ourselves, right? Like to just try to take time away. I was saying I had the weirdest experience of like of realizing I don't have a personal email address anymore. Right. And being like, all of my work and personal is so intertwined. And like, it kind of started a rabbit hole for me thinking about like, wow, all of like my personal shit comes through this same work email. And like, I maybe need to change that. Right.
Yes,
like maybe
please.
I need to like have some space for myself, and like Tre'Vell talked really well about how intertwined everything can be and how we've been making adjustments over the years and like the changing of the schedule, the modifying of this, that, and the other. Like I think the biggest running joke with my assistant and I is like, so we're going to modify the schedule. And she's like, okay, what is it now, girl? Like, what do we need to do? Right. Because like I'm teaching one semester, I'm not teaching the next semester. I'm working on a book. I'm doing this other thing. Like we got to modify the thing so that I can create what I need to create, right? But like the feeling of burnout is ever present and like always just underneath the surface if it's not coding it.
So distressing. It's just like,
what's happening, Derwin? What's happening?
No, that was just a distressing fact. Like it's something that I have acknowledged, but I think I've also been very judgmental with myself about, feeling that way, that because I was like, oh, I just got over this. Like I've just felt burnout a little while ago and I was in a different space. And then, I challenged myself to do more again. And then before I knew it, I was like, this is not my old foe. Couldn't be. You didn't come back.
She's back. She's back. She's like, girl, you thought you killed me?
No. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's one of those things that I have to constantly remind myself with, like, I talk a lot about depression and anxiety on the show and the ways that like the imposter syndrome has impacted me over the years. And like, it is something that I am having to always remind myself, like, oh, this isn't just like over at some point, right? Like maybe at some point in the future, I won't do it as much, but like, I've been surprised by the different ways that the imposter syndrome has shown up for me. And I did not recognize that that's what it was, right? Like not being able to accept a compliment or not being able to like celebrate a moment, like really unpacking those moments for me. I'm like, oh, this is still that me not thinking I deserve this, right? Or me not really wanting to like embrace it because I think it's going to get taken away and that kind of stuff. All of that, like it goes on for a long time.
And how I think you all probably answered this because this is probably like a journey you all are still navigating. But like, how have you all tried to overcome it? How have you all, as queer individuals as well? I know we have additional things added to our plates. What resources have you all used to navigate those conversations? Do you lean on each other, and then also with the balancing of just time, like how have you all navigated that?
I'll say that I think for me, and Jarrett has done this as well, it has been very helpful just to set the boundaries, right? I'm not reading emails after 6 p.m. I'm not reading emails before 9 a.m. I'm not, if somebody texts me about work related stuff, oh, you need to send me an email. If somebody DMs me about work related, you need to send me an email. Yes. Work happens in email. It don't happen in no other form because anybody got my little hippocampus, she can't hold all that, okay? So you need to put that into some writing, okay? Put that into some writing and I will get to it between the hours of 9 and 6, right? I think part of it has also been about, like I said earlier, saying no. Right? Like I know when I first started freelancing in particular, I said yes to everything because I was like, I need to make sure I can pay these bills. And I'm a little bougie. So also my bills high. Okay. So I need to say yes to everything. Okay, hold on now. Okay. Teflon. I only have a few hotel falls. Okay?
A few? I swear. Listen, I tell us to brag. Do what you gotta do. Listen, on this podcast, we tell people brag, bitch. We don't get places where we can do it, brag.
I'm gonna brag. I'm gonna brag.
And we love
I work goddamn hard, okay? For everything that I have. Praise the Lord. But right, that's also part of it, right? Not being afraid to treat myself. I work very hard, right? And so if I want to have 7 Telfars in the room, I got 7 Telfars in the room. It is what it is, right? I'm about to buy 2 more tomorrow. Praise the Lord. Period. Right? Like, but again, for me, navigating this is about, at least now where I am, is about like not overworking myself, not feeling like I have to be everywhere, right? Because what's meant for me is going to be mine, right? If it's meant for me to do it, it will fit in my schedule as it already is. I don't need to move things around and do it. No, like no shade, right? When, we've been working on scheduling this episode, for a little bit, I'll say it. Yes. We've been working on scheduling this episode for a minute, right? And it kept changing. It kept changing because, something would pop up on my schedule. Something would pop up on Jarrett's schedule. And we had to email y'all, And so but we really wanted to do, and I think part of it is also like making the time for the things that you need to make time for.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so making time for rest means that, like, if you need to buy your tickets for whatever your vacation is going to be today, and the vacation's not till 6 months away, right? Then you do that, right?
Yeah.
That way you're setting yourself up for this time off or for this rest, right? What can you do to make sure that you're not working on the weekends, right? If possible, right? And if you're going to work on the weekends, then how can we take one of these days during the week and not do work on that day? Yeah, that's what I would say that, like, I try to do to, like, fit things in. But it don't always work now. You know, we a work in progress.
Yeah.
I know that for myself, it has been a lot of trying to, like, listen to my body, right? In a way that I'm not really used to. And I, for years, have told myself, like, oh, I'm just so lazy, right?
Oh.
I'm just so lazy. I'm so lazy. And it's a narrative that I've had in my head. And, like, I'm one of the hardest working people that I know, right? Like, and I always have people reflecting back to me how much I work. And so there was, like, this weird dichotomy of, like, feeling really lazy and feeling really tired from working so much, which just did not equate for me. And then I recognized after some therapy that fatigue is the way that depression shows up for me. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm not just, like, tired all the time because I sleep well. Right. Like, sleep is not one of the places that I struggle. And, like, I'm so tired, but I slept all night. Oh, this is depression. Right. And so, like, being able to point that out to myself has made so much difference for me because I can recognize, like, oh, I'm dealing with something right now. I need to modify my behavior. I need to modify my schedule. I need to take some time for myself. And, like, this last few weeks, as I've talked about on the show, you know, I've been going through it with my mental health and, like, really feeling, like, strong feelings of depression and anxiety. And, like, I went into therapy saying to my therapist, I always roll my eyes when I think about this, but I went into therapy saying to my therapist, like, so I do a lot of shit that depressed people do, but I'm not depressed. So, like, what is it? Right? And she, like, writes down her notes and goes, right? Like, oh, okay. Right. And so, like, the ways that I've been, like, trying to, like, modify or, like, moderate my behavior and my feels, like, has really been a lot of what it's been for me of trying to, like, just make myself feel good or feel steady. And, like, one of the things that was a part of that was changing the way I talk about my own work from I'm a freelance journalist to I'm a business. Right? Because for me as a freelancer, I was always a freelancer who was looking for a job. Right? I wanted to be somewhere, but, like, I would, like, get a job and it wouldn't be the right thing, or I would get it and keep it and you get laid off or whatever. But, like, when I made myself a business, it made me start thinking differently about the work that I was doing and the way that I wanted to approach it. And, like, it has taken a long time to, like, change all of that, but, like, starting to look at it, just that one difference, and, like, a lot of paperwork that ended up making me feel differently about it. It made me start thinking about my benefits package and the fact that I don't have days off every year that are part of my own package for myself, or the ways that I need to be giving myself back time, or the ways that I need to be thinking about my team's time and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's part of how I've been looking at that.
Thank you to the both of you, because you both said things that resonated with me, and both at where I am personally currently and where I have been. And so that was both affirming and encouraging for how I plan to move forward. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think it's a human conversation that needs to be had with other individuals that look like us and are us. So I appreciate that, and just thank you. But before we wrap up and things like that, of course, I want to get to the podcast again and talk about what has been some successes that you all have seen from, you know, carrying on the FANTI podcast. and also some things that you've been like, like, wow, we did that.
This is a good question. I mean, for me, I marvel at the fact that we are still doing this goddamn show almost 3 years in a fucking pandemic, right? Like we recorded our first, I think, except the Wendy Williams episode, if I'm not mistaken, but we recorded the first few episodes before we actually launched. So we recorded those in person, similar to like you all did your first year. And then the pandemic happened literally 3 weeks after we launched, and we've been doing the recording, via Zoom or whatever. And I just marvel at the fact that we're still doing the show in the first place, that we built a community of folks, right, that like love what we do. They love us individually, they love us together, and that like people are like legitimately interested in tuning in every single week, because I just be running my mouth, honey. Okay, I don't be saying nothing much.
And the people love it.
And
the people will love it. All right,
baby.
I just let Derwin go. I'll be like, and Derwin's thoughts go.
And I just be saying shit.
No, like as far as like accomplishments for the show, Tre'Vell would not know this, but we are getting ready to cross 2 million downloads. And like, because I'm the person who's like looking at numbers, and Tre'Vell's like, girl, I don't know what that shit looks like, right?
Jarrett, me too.
Listen, right? Like, and
I'm
so
like, girl.
I used to, when we first started, I would check every day. I'd be like, how many people? What time? When we're listening? Oh my God, they're in New Zealand. Like, I would be doing that. And then as the weeks and months waned on, I was like, okay, girl, you can check it once a week and like chill out. And now I check it periodically, but I know that the 2 million is coming up. But like when we had our first million streams, I was like, holy shit, what is that? Right. When we've had people email us, the things that really tend to stick out to me are when we have people message and say that they cited our show in their dissertation. Or they used a clip from the show in their classroom. Or I sent this to my uncle who was racist or transphobic, and we had a conversation around the thing. Or I heard you mention on the show that you've been dealing with X. Here's a resource that might be helpful for you. Or I was on your show and then I connected with so-and-so, right? And so it's been kind of the impact that has been really, really cool to me. Like we got in our first year, best of the year from Apple, right? From Apple Podcasts. And we got like one of the best of the year. We were part of a dozen shows. And like, that was really cool. And like to, be submitting for awards and stuff like that has been really cool. But like to hear the impact from people when they say what the conversations that we had did for them, or how they felt seen, or, they were depressed and like we kind of helped them get through a difficult time. Cause like, I know that intimately, right? Like there were some weeks where coming and doing the show or being in a meeting or being a part of the conversation was like the joy that I needed that day, right? To be able to come have fun and like to smile and turn it on because I needed it. And so to hear that reflected back from audience members has been probably the most special to me.
Wow. First of all, shout out to y'all with the coming up on the 2 million. And Tre'Vell, you need to know this now, okay? You need to know that.
Do I?
No, you are, baby.
You don't need to.
I told myself listen, I told myself I will let Tre'Vell know like the week before, hey, look, it's going to hit next week. And Tre'Vell don't even want to know all that. They'll be like, oh, 2 million, cute. Right? Yeah. But it is what it is.
No, I love that. Congratulations, you all. I think that representation is needed. I think the visibility, the conversations is something that is necessary. And I appreciate it as a queer millennial, just the nuance and just us keying, just we need to hear us just talk shit and just be also actually used in dissertations or arguments is amazing as well. Like our queer voices are being used to defend things. Absolutely. And that's so rare. Like, we usually are fighting battles that sometimes it takes us forever to overcome, but we're in spaces where we're actually being able to use that. So I really shout out to y'all for that. That's pretty amazing.
So I'd like to know what the future holds for the two of you.
What the future holds? Well, most immediately, Jared and I are co-writing a book. It's called Historically Black Phrases. As of this recording, you hear an echo?
It's Jarrett. I think it's Jarrett. You got the feedback.
I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
You got it, love. Okay.
My computer is sitting in the sun, and I realized it got really hot, and so it made it start running really slowly, and that's what's been happening this whole time. So go ahead.
Okay. If you say so, okay.
I could not.
But no, Jared and I are co-writing a book. As of this conversation, we are waiting to get copy edits back on the book. It's called Historically Black Phrases. It will basically be a coffee table sized dictionary of these phrases that we've heard growing up. Everything from, I ain't one of your little friends, to, to shade and tea and all of those ones from the community, to God knows my heart, bless her heart, etc. And we've put definitions to these phrases. And so it's going to be highly designed. We hope that it will be something that folks will like read and enjoy, and it'll take you down memory lane to, hearing your grandmama, say some of these things, or hear your cousin say some of these things. So that's like most immediate for us. Besides the podcast, obviously we come out every single Thursday. And yeah, I think, did I miss anything, Jared? So yes, we've got the book, we've got the podcast. Jared is working on his solo book. I will have a solo book coming out. I should say this: Historically Black Phrases will be out in the fall of 2023. I have a book called We See Each Other: A Black Trans Journey Through TV and Film that's coming out in the spring. And that's like a part memoir, part history of trans images on screen. And so that's coming. I actually literally this morning turned in the final draft of that. And so, yeah, we got some things coming, a little something here, a little something there.
I would love to read that.
I can't wait.
I love just the conversation and just want to hear your experiences with that. I think that it'll be something quite entertaining, informative, and just a whole key. I think I'm just super excited.
Yes, I'll come back when the book comes out and we can talk through it and all of that.
Thank you. Because one thing about it, I love featuring people's books up on the show, honey. When Harry was here and when Michael Arsenault was here, both of those were some of my favorite moments. That. So please do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we want to, wrap it up. And, this is a lovely and amazing conversation. We know we got lives. We know we want to take care of ourselves. But before we conclude, can you all tell our listeners where they can listen to you all at? Also, your social medias that you all would love to share with us and them.
Go, Jarrett.
Yeah, so FANTI comes out, as Tre'Vell was saying, every Thursday. We're on the social media platforms at FANTI Podcast. FANTI is FANTI. Again, a portmanteau that I came up with that is fan and anti.
I think we've came up with this. I think we found it.
I don't know if we talked about this because this was my idea. I don't know if we covered that. But we come out every Thursday where we just label the audio on all the podcasting platforms. But you can follow myself everywhere at Jarrett Hill with 2 R's and 2 T's. Tre'Vell is on Twitter, Tre'Vell Anderson, and Ray Jean, that middle name that is unique to them on the Instagram. And we're always kind of across all the platforms. Yeah, unique.
That's what you are.
Yes. Thank you all so much for coming onto the show and speaking with us. We definitely would love to have you all come back. Also talk about your own personal journeys and your books. And also, I know our listeners and viewers are going to enjoy this conversation. And we know they're going to tune in to FANTI every week because this is the conversation that we need to have and hear. So thank you all so much. Derwin, where can they follow you at? Tell them where they can follow you at, girlie.
Y'all know you can follow me on Instagram at derwinking. That's DERWINKING. And on Twitter at Free Negro. That's FREENEGREAUX.
And you all can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at _lordevery. That is _LORDEVERY. You can also follow the podcast at That Black Boy Joy on Instagram and Twitter. You also can write into the podcast at That Black Boy Joy podcast at gmail.com. And you all can like, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, all of that on YouTube at That Black Boy Joy. And like we always tell our guests, please be so in love. And our listeners, please be so in love with who you are.
Amen.